All right, we're going to call this special session and budget workshop to order. City of West Tawakoni, August 4th, 6:30 p.m. We will start with invocation. We'll just go right into Pledge of Allegiance after that. Randy, if you lead us, please.
Father, we thank you again for bringing us here together for the city, the citizens of this city. We ask that you give us wisdom and patience and guide us through the decisions we make this evening. We ask these things in your name.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll move on from there. Number 4, announcements. Council, do we have any announcements? No announcements. City staff? No announcements. Okay, we'll move on from there. Citizens input related to agenda items. I don't currently have any. Okay, we'll move on from there. Number 6, citizens input not related to agenda items. I don't have anything there either. Okay, we'll move on from there.
To make a motion that we move up the 8A discussion and action or action to appoint Kathy Bledsoe as the director of the West Tawakoni Economic as a director on the West Tawakoni Economic Development Corporation Board in place or in front of the 7 budget workshop.
Yeah, I've got a motion to move up new business A to before the budget workshop. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Greg Sprinkle.
Motion passed. So we'll move on from there under new business A, discussion and or action to appoint of Kathy Bledsoe as the director on the West Tawakoni Economic Development Corporation Board.
I think we got to clarify that as a director, not the director.
Yeah, as a director.
I know, but it says a director. He said the
Yes.
director.
Yes.
So, because I did the same thing, and I've done it twice, reading it, and I was confused as to what was going on. So I want to make sure the clarification.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's open for discussion.
Can I introduce it?
Yes, ma'am, please.
All right. Thank you, council, so much for taking this on your agenda today. One of the things that I proposed to you when y'all appointed me on the board and I was voted in as president is that I wanted to try and bring people onto the board who had business backgrounds and had some, I keep telling them, I want their brains. I want people who run businesses or have been involved in business that are able to give good ideas, good feedback, and really be able to participate well on the board. So Kathy is somebody that I've known for a very long time. She moved out here with her husband from Plano. She's got 2 degrees. She worked in the banking industry, cybersecurity. And after she got done working at a job where she was having to get on an airplane and fly to New York City, she was up in Manhattan almost every week. It was just crazy. She retired, took a couple of years and relaxed, and now she's ready to come out and help. So, and you already know her husband, Lee, who's on planning and zoning. So I'll turn it over to Kathy.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're up for the challenge?
I think I am. I do think I wanted to get involved. I certainly didn't want to get in anything really political, kind of low on the radar. And so I thought this would be good and a fun place and good place to get involved. And I thought I had something to bring to the table. So I hope I do.
Has EDC already voted on this, or is this the one?
Yes, we
Okay.
have.
Okay, perfect. So council, any questions? If there's no questions, I entertain a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion that we appoint Kathy Bledsoe as a director on the West Tawakoni Economic Development Corporation Board.
We've got a motion on the table.
I'll second.
I've got a second. All in favor?
Thank you.
Greg Sprinkle.
Cecilia Irvin.
Motion passed. Welcome to the team.
Thank you so much. I look forward to working with y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, we will move on from there. Number 7 will be the budget workshop. Mary, what you got for us?
I'll let Chris start it off while I get this put up on the screen.
Yeah. First, I'm going to follow up on prior budget discussion regarding the, is it the hot tax set aside for advertising? Is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Sprinkle, you brought up there being required set aside for advertising in the hotel occupancy tax. Am I getting this right? And so we researched that, and you are correct that there is a required set aside for that. And in fact, it is basically double what you thought it was.
It was, I thought it was 7%.
It's 1/7.
1/7.
Yeah,
Oh,
so-
okay.
7th of the revenue.
Right.
So we need very good numbers. We need very good documentation on what those revenue dollars are.
Correct. Yeah. So we'll revise that budget to reflect that set aside.
But there are a lot of things that qualify as advertising. The
We're
4th
not-
of July, the 4th of
We're
July.
not in trouble.
Yeah, we're not,
We're fine.
4th of July qualified as advertising and,
A lot of what we will do will be advertised.
yeah, absolutely. We'll call it, it will qualify.
The other part of Ray's question was that based on revenue or is that based on fund balance?
Revenue.
Revenue.
Revenue is how the code reads it.
Yeah. It's specifically of the revenue each year. So like you said, if you carry over some of the other revenue and you've already
A
spent
a large portion of what we had this year was carryover from prior 2 or 3 years. So is there a way, what is a good way for us to keep track of that revenue and balance? I realize that we have a line in the budget for what that balance is, saying like right now it says there's $59,000 in there. But I'm not sure that in 18 months I've ever seen how that revenue, where that was funded. Does that make sense?
So, because there's not a whole, so what you'll see here is you'll see it in your financial statement, the occupancy tax deposit will show you revenue. That's just revenue that's been brought in this fiscal year.
In this fiscal year, okay?
And that's
Okay.
gonna be, you'll see that as it comes in.
And did we do anything about, what's our plan for the uncollected hot tax moving forward? Because we kind of brought up last meeting that we didn't have a lot of them paying. And how do we, what are our, do we have a plan? Do we have a course of action? Do we need to create one? How do we collect that money?
Because it was,
We are working the process through, but it's gonna be on how the process is. We have an idea of how
No.
we're tracking it. Well, what I'm saying is, it's the very beginning stages of figuring out the best way to get it collected.
Okay,
So now, especially with the short-term rentals, outside of just our regular, everybody, like occupancy tax, our short-term rentals are a new tracking spreadsheet. It's gonna just, me and Shannon gotta take time to put that process together and get it done.
tracking spreadsheet. Did we or did we not buy a software?
It does not,
It doesn't do that. There was another module, is that right?
Well, yes. There was another module we could purchase, I think, to track.
Oops,
Am I right?
I
I
don't
don't know
know.
that
So
that-
the permitting will do some of it'll track my short-term rentals, I believe, but I don't know if it tracks the hot tax.
Yeah, it doesn't, so
Well,
it
we
would
could
be
just we could, knowing that they had short-term rentals, we could go to them and put the burden
Yes.
on them
And
to
let me
pay
also
us.
say, we just got the permitting module, the first training today.
Oh,
So,
good.
it was great.
so
think-
far I
You
like
like
it. I think it's gonna be really good.
Okay.
It's just, we're just now getting it as in 10 o'clock today. Was
I
our first
understand.
look at it.
I'm just trying to figure out,
I don't know what all it does yet,
okay.
100%. We have another training tomorrow.
To answer that question,
Because we're at the end of the fiscal year is the reason I'm, because the people are gonna be delinquent. They're already delinquent, because shouldn't it basically happen every quarter?
yes,
So,
ideally, that's part of my plan is to make sure that they are noticed at least quarterly, because there's a penalty, there's a deadline, there's all things that's written in a letter that I've got. It's just now got to get that process completed and
and Shannon's the person that has to do that.
no,
No.
it's gonna be a division of labor between me and Shannon.
No, my part's getting them registered and all of that, her part's hot tax.
Okay.
Okay. So moving on to our discussion of revenues, before we can talk about either general fund or water sewer fund, we engaged the consultant Zach Tax through their fractional CFO program and started using their services last week. I wanted this because of reasons we talked about regarding our staff capabilities with budgeting and accounting. And that engagement is something that council can continue into the new year or not at their leisure. But what I can tell you based on our discussions with our consultant there is that we have some issues in the current year between revenues and expenditures. And I know council members have pointed out some of this coming up to this date, but I just wanted to go ahead and provide a fairly clear picture of where we're at. Which one do you have up?
I've got general fund up.
Okay, so for general fund, we did a couple of things budgeting based on expectations we had for the current fiscal year that haven't panned out. And one of those things is that we anticipated sales tax of, I think it was $180,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not going to get anywhere near that this year. Currently, this year, we have collected, do you have a number there, Mary?
131, 875, 59.
Okay. Oh, there's another $4 since I put my number in. So a little over 131,000. The good news is that is up 30% over the last fiscal year. Our sales tax revenues are up this year versus last year. The bad news is that last year we anticipated a lot more businesses coming online during this fiscal year. And so council budgeted for $180,000 in sales tax. Annualized projection based on current revenue is I'm hoping we hit 158,000 for sales tax. So that's going to be a miss for us. Also in general fund, the carryover from the prior year was budgeted as revenue. And that in itself is not the worst thing because it is meant to be reserves. Unfortunately, that number was also used to balance the budget last year. And so to get to a balanced close this year, we would have to deplete those reserves. And so unless we get considerably more revenues in general fund, and we're showing an annualization right now, we're going to have to deplete reserves to be balanced. So we have some things we're going to do with cost savings on the general fund. Mary and I just got this news today from our consultant. And so she and I have found about 55,000 that we can save. And we're basically trying to get back to zero for this year's budget based on those misses on the revenue side. The expenditures in GF are under budget, if I recall. Is that correct? Yeah, we're currently under budget for expenditures in GF. Okay. Any questions about that on general fund before I move on?
Go ahead, I'll say my question for you.
Okay. On to water fund. We have a similar situation with water. Actually, sewer revenues hit. I think we're good on sewer revenues somehow, but water revenues are under. And this is where we actually had a reduction in revenue versus prior year. You have us this year at what number?
Right now, 989, 487.
Okay, good. Another $27 came in. So I annualized that at about 1.19 or 188,000. That is down from 1.226 in prior year. It's not down a lot, but it's down, and that's a concern. We did look at some of our delinquencies, and I think we have some opportunities there, but that's something I haven't really dug into yet. On the sewer side, like I said, we're in the black on sewer. You should end up good, but that deficit from 1.18 versus the budgeted number was 1.5. Okay, so for 25-26 fiscal year, we budgeted 1.5 in water, right? Water sewer. Anyway, over, yeah, in water over revenues of 1.22 in the prior year. And, you know, if all of the anticipated development had occurred toward the beginning of the 25-26 fiscal year, it's possible that we may have realized those revenues. But there's been a lot of delay in development, and that's not unique to West Tawakoni. That's happening lots of places. But so what that means is that we are significantly under budget on our water revenues. The other thing that happened in water fund is we used the prior year carryover again to balance the budget. It's okay to have them in the budget, but if you use them to balance the budget, that means that in order to get out clean, you have to deplete your reserves. One of the things we're going to put in the new budget is a reserve policy, a reserve fund policy. It's going to be a challenge to actually realize reserves for the upcoming year, but we want to put a policy in place so that we're able to accurately reflect where we put reserve funds in our budget. So all this to say, I think the miss on water sewer is going to be a little stronger. Fortunately, again, we have the ability to realize actually a couple $100,000 in savings on the expenditure side. So I feel pretty good about that, but we're still in a situation where in order to get out of this fiscal year clean, we're likely to have to deplete reserves. So as staff, we take this information and all of the work that we've been doing on the expenditure side for 26-27, we're not going to undo, but we do have to go back and tighten it up a lot in order to bring you anything close to a balanced budget. Now, I think that's a lot of information to have shared this early in the evening, so I'll just go ahead and pause and take questions and remarks before we move on.
Okay, so you say we've got, that money has to be spent in order to make it balanced? Is that what you said?
Correct.
Okay. So that means more stuff that the water department can buy?
No. You have to use the reserve revenue that's in your budget to balance your expenditures.
How's that done?
It's you're spending out of fund balance.
We're spending, so when we did the budget, we put reserves in there to balance out the expenditures. Because originally with revenue, there's more expenditures than there was revenue. So we put that carryover to help balance the over expenditure. So meaning we have to use that number to even balance out the expenses.
Okay.
Basically like using your savings to pay your credit card.
Pay your rent.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
You-
right.
I know
Leave
something
the
you
credit
take
card
from the
business, pay your
savings,
rent.
that way you're not
You
sure,
should.
but you know.
Yeah.
You lose money in your savings account.
Thank you
Right.
for that. That made more
We're
sense.
gonna drain our savings, we're gonna drain our savings to pay our bills.
Got it.
Which sounds like it's something a lot of people are having to do right now. Okay, so I have a few questions.
Yes.
Okay, so the last statement that I have is through June 30th, right? Okay, that is what percentage of the year gone?
5, 6, so 84%. No, that's 3/4, so 75%.
75%, right? So with 75% of the year gone, and you're saying that we are under budget, we are under expenditures in the general fund,
The general fund, yes.
okay? And we're low on revenue on that same general fund,
Yes.
okay? So I'm concerned because 75% of the year is gone. I've been saying this for the last 3 meetings about budget, and that is employee insurance is 42% used with 75% of the year gone. That's what's posted.
Right.
All right, and that means if that's what's posted, that's where you're pulling your numbers from, right? So same thing on quarterly court fees, 55% spent with 75% gone. And then as I go down the list, contract labor and inspection, 23%. And then, salary salary, 92% is gone with 75%. So my question is, if we are under budget and if we're under expenditure and under revenue, is it because we're not posting correctly or timely enough?
There will be some line items that will need to be trued up. Some of those specifically are not going to be based on, even expenditures through the year. And I'd be happy to address them each individually. But from the annualization that our consultant did based on current numbers, the expenditures on GF are not going to be a huge problem. It's versus revenue. Is the big issue.
No question. Obviously, revenue is the biggest problem. My concern is that we're going to be 3 days before the end of the year. We only have 55 days left in the year. And our postings or our expenditures or our something is not showing in the column budget used, equating to the amount of the year used.
Right. Yeah, I understand that concern, and we're working on truing up.
And if you're already telling us that we're going to have to spend our savings to get to a balanced budget, what happens on September the 27th when the thing posts and we don't have that money?
We should have that information well ahead of September 27th so that we can get.
Today's August 4th.
Where, sir?
Okay, I kind of like to not be surprised.
I get it. I
Okay.
understand.
All right.
Any questions?
Can I get one of those? That's something.
Yes, I print one every week, every month. And then sit down and circle it. But I'll be happy, you got it, it's in the packet, we just have to print it. We just gotta kill 2 trees.
Looking at revenues going into next year, so we do have some opportunities. Clearly, it's not as rosy as I hoped it would be because of the current year situation. But property tax revenue is supposed to be, do we have that number?
I don't know. I did put in here. If we were to adopt the voter approved, we are looking at, we put 636, 673, 46.
Okay. So the thing that we did that was cautious for 25, 26 was there's the no new revenue, the voter approved revenue, and then there's that plus actual tax. But actual tax may or may not always be realized because
Exemptions. Some of the exemptions. I have to pull up the actual verbiage on it.
but our friend at the tax assessor collector's office has helped explain that it's probably not healthiest to budget that. So we didn't, yet we're collecting some of it, which is great. So those revenues are above.
So we look at the actual number. The actual number is minus the deduction. This is the number that they send us. This is with all the exemptions. It's always lower. We haven't budgeted it this. We
Correct.
budgeted this.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
We gotta make it simple.
Yeah, no, that's exactly correct. So we have an opportunity to budget the same way going into the next year, where we could end up with some black ink that we didn't necessarily plan on. What I'm going to suggest is we ask the consultant for best practice on that. There may be a percentage of it that we feel safe budgeting that would help us be in a better position.
Can we get a history for the last 3 years of what
Absolutely.
that number has been?
Yes, we absolutely can. Yeah. So that's one opportunity we have there. Even though both the water revenues and the sales tax revenues were over budgeted for 25, 26, they were too optimistic based on facts on the ground now. I do believe that we are in a good position to be fairly optimistic with those numbers going forward. I wouldn't necessarily budget 180,000 in sales tax. I wouldn't necessarily budget 1.5 million in water. However, I think we can go up over this year's actuals by a fair amount because we do have developments that are ready to break ground within the next month.
Probably, I mean, I think we have a couple that may break ground in a couple of weeks,
Right.
honestly.
And we'll get you a rundown on that. We've given you a summary on the West Tawakoni Plaza developments, but we have a couple of others as well. So when we bring you a revenue projection for 26, 27, it should reflect some numbers that are better than this year's actuals. Whether we're going to be as optimistic as we were coming into this year's budget, I'm not so sure. But that's the information I want to share on that. Other questions?
We need to tighten up what our expenditures were from last year to this year. And we need to do a better job of budgeting of what revenue we expect.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. And like I said, in both the general fund and water sewer, we've identified, I believe, probably about 270,000 that we can save in current year expenditures without a whole lot of pain, just in terms of what was budgeted versus what we need to get through the year. And then past that, we'll come back to council for how we try to get to it clean at the end of the year. Because this information is new to both Mary and me today, we got it from the consultant. That's all we've brought you. And I think it's a lot to digest right now, but I'm happy to take more questions, comments, anything else budget-wise that you all want to talk about tonight. Nothing? Okay.
Like what he's got, the overall budget, I think that's important for us to look at as a big picture as we're looking at individual groups too. Because we're gonna try to, do more over here than we were doing, and we're gonna need to find money. So you're talking about a couple of hundred, that'd be good, but I'm sure there's more to it than that. So for me, that's important, seeing the big picture as we go through these compartments.
For sure.
Seeing the stuff that we pay monthly on our contracts or whatever.
Yeah, and there's, as Mary and I we went through line by line today, and there are still some issues with how we budgeted certain revenues versus how we're posting them, and then same with the expenditures. And so we really do want to get those cleaned up before we come back with what should be true.
Is there any chance that we'll have that rate study for the water?
I doubt it.
Before we get the budget?
I doubt it. Unfortunately, we're still working on requests from the auditor. Excuse me, we wanted additional bank statements this week, and then there were some capital expenditures for EDC, and he's still digging, and so he's not going to be done the next couple of weeks. The letter he provided for the grant was a generous effort on his part.
But I mean, the rate.
I'm sorry. So to answer your question is because that's what we're working on now, we're not able to complete the data request to facilitate the rate study.
Doug has pulled a lot of data.
Our fractional CFO consultant is helping with that data request because A, he works for Zactac, so he knows what they want, and B, he knows how to get it out of our system. So he's been helping with that. So that can expedite it, but I would not be at all comfortable promising a result on that study before.
It just seemed pie in the sky. If we had correct rates, we might be at the budget a little better.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how low is that backup account?
I'd have to look at fund balance versus what we have in here, and I don't have that in front of me. We can get that for you for the regular next week.
Any other questions? Anything else we want to go over? No, we'll be closing the budget workshop. Moving on from there, we've already taken care of a new business. So number 9 is executive session, open executive session authorized by the Texas Government Code, section 551.074. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for,
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
let's go.
Silly Urban.
We will be in executive session at 7 p.m.
Greg, you seconded, right? He's good, right?
We're not, all right, I'm gonna call us back to order at 7:14. We will move down from there to number 10.
Make a motion to adjourn.
We got a motion on the table and a second. All in favor?
Greg Snyder.
That's what I heard.
Motion passed. Thank you, everybody.